Hello everybody, Mac here. Welcome back to the show. What we have today is brains and skulls, but not on the table of Dr. Frankenstein. No, no, no. We have the Cobra Range Viper. And this gruesome guy, I am so happy to get him for the classified line. I wanted the Range Viper when I was a kid in the vintage line. I never got him. I don't understand why he comes with a grenade launcher, but we'll talk about that later. But I'm really happy I got this one. I actually have 3 of these. These were Walmart Collector Con exclusives from Walmart exclusives from Collector Con, from the last Collector Con, not the one that's coming up Friday, time of recording. But I'm really happy to have this guy. I mean, just look at this face. This face is just gnarly, and this whole helmet thing. Like, if you read the old file card and the old description of them, that was basically just for intimidation purposes. But I gotta wonder, what was Hasbro thinking back in the 80s when they created the design for this guy? For our packaging, we have, of course, the windowless packaging with an image of the figure up front. We have some really good artwork. I love that look on his face right here. And we see his accessories up here. Over here, we have a reprinting of that artwork. I might actually cut this out and keep that. That looks really cool. On the back, we have the promo shot of the figure, some highlights of the figure, and his accessories. Over here, QR code, 76 in the line, G.I. Joe up top, barcode, and plastic-free packaging on the bottom. So, without further ado, let's just rip this open, and so I can get my hands on my first Range Viper ever, and take a look at Hasbro G.I. Joe Classified Series Range Viper. Okay, here he is, our Range Viper out of the box, and putting the tape measure to him, we can see that he is approximately 6 1/4 inches tall to the top of his brains. So I did not have the Range Viper when I was a kid, and that is a big disappointment to me because as big of a fan as I am of Universal Monsters, this guy would have been right up my alley. Unfortunately, he came along in the line right about the time I was getting out of the collecting the vintage line. So it kills me that I kind of missed him, but I'm glad I have this version of him with a much more detailed skull head right here. I also like the coloring more than I thought I would. I like that this is more like Cobra blue, like the Cobra officers and the Cobra troopers, and with that black underlay. I really like the color combination of this. I like the look of this. It makes absolutely no sense because why would they do this? I know in the file card it kind of says that it's for intimidation purposes, but come on. This still looks awesome, though. I love the red eyes, the red lenses right there. I love this big, like, Skeletor skull grin right there. The brains just coming out from underneath the band. And, like, even the detail they do in this, like, brain work going on right here. I think that looks fantastic. I also like how they sort of turn these into, like, earpieces on the side, like, to pick up sounds and everything. Because for the longest time, it's only been recently that I realized why it was called Range Viper. I mean, these were basically their special forces, their version of like the Rangers or like Marine Force Recon or something like that. So I like how everything on the Range Viper kind of leans into that. Like he has the extra pouches up here that could be for ammo or that could be for like survival gear. He has the canisters on the bandolier strap right here, which could either be grenades for his grenade launcher, or it could just be like smoke grenades, marking an LZ point, whatever. He has like more pouches on the back here, pouches here, just like covered in pouches for any gear that he would need. Even like, let's get his arms up out of the way. Even like you can see like little pouches on his belt right here. I just appreciate that. Like he's basically just carrying all of this survival kit on him. And I think that is really cool. I also really like, talking about the Cobra Blue, I really like the classic, Cobra emblem that we have here on his shoulder. And I just really like the design, the look. Like I said, it realistically makes absolutely no sense. I mean, even being blue out in the woods, but I just really like it. I really like him. I actually am really looking forward now to like the fire team because I can't wait to see this guy in like red. I think that's going to be really cool. Now, the articulation, especially in the head, is a little disappointing that he doesn't have any real tilt side to side. He does not look up at all. He can barely look down, but he does do the full 360 spin. But this helmeted head doesn't really give him much room for articulation. The arms will do a full 360. He has a really good butterfly joint in there. Arms go up past 90. Bicep swivel. Double jointed elbows. Wrists pivot. Now this one, his left wrist hinges up and down. His right wrist hinges in and out. I don't know why this one hinges in and out. I would much rather have seen both of them hinge up and down. Now, underneath this, he does have an ab cut in there. You can see it underneath his vest. And he can crank back because this is thinner in back than it is up front. But he can't really get that same range of movement going forward. He can a little bit, but the vest really does hinder him. Then he has this ball joint at the waist that allows him to do the full 360. He has some side-to-side rock. He can use that for helping with the forward and the back as well. He has drop-down hips that the legs can come up, and I feel like they would be able to come up even more. I think that the only thing that is really hindering them... Oh, no, that is it. I thought it was these pouches at first, but no, that's as high as it goes. That's still pretty good, though. And then the legs will go forward. The legs will go back. You have the thigh cut, which is hidden by his leg pouches, his holster over here, and his pouches over here. Double jointed knees, that the ones on mine, all three of them actually, are really stiff. Boot cut, ankles rock back, ankles rock forward, and we have a forward-facing pin for some rocker. Now, of course, like many of the G.I. Joe figures that we get anymore, we do have this Foot Locker O accessories, and the first thing we're going to start with is we're going to start small. He does have his sidearm right here. I can't identify this. I don't think this is a real-world pistol. Maybe a Glock. I'm not sure. Remember, like I said, unless it's a 1911 or a Beretta 9mm, I really can't distinguish much pistol to pistol. But I do like how this is like a small, compact number. I also like how it has the extended clip, and he does have a holster on his hip. You can stash that right there. Now, in addition to that, something else that comes from the vintage figure is his knife right here, which it does look like a sai, I have to admit, but it is supposed to be bladed. So I'm guessing this is just like the Range Viper's signature knife. Like the Marines have the K-bar, the Range Vipers have the Psi bar. I don't know. But he has a spot for this on his belt. You can see he has this loop right here. This is a little disappointing, this thing. I would have liked to have seen a little bit of some paint app on here. The cross piece and the handle, I don't mind being black. It would have been nice to see the blade painted silver. Or just give it some color, give it something. Now, what we have in here is we have all of his weapons, and he comes with a decent amount of gear. And I think a lot of videos that I've watched of this, there were people that weren't able to get all of the gear on him. They were saying that unlike other G.I. Joe figures, the Range Viper, you can't really outfit him with everything. You can. I'm not saying you should, but you can. And we're going to start with his backpack right here. That I really dig this backpack. You can see there are grenades etched on right here. You can see he has sort of like a rebreather, an oxygen tank here. Once again, he has more pouches, and he has his walkie-talkie strapped to the side here. Unfortunately, this walkie-talkie doesn't come out. It's just, molded into it. But it's also very flat, okay? I'm not a fan of this. I would have preferred that if they were doing something like the Range Viper here, that is supposed to be like Special Forces, like LARP, or like a Ranger or something like that. I would have rather have seen like a standard like field pack, kind of like what we got with the standard Vipers. But this is what we got, so this is what we're going to go with. And you can see that it has this cutout right here. Well, that is for his grenade launcher right here. And while I don't mind that they gave him a grenade launcher, this looks really like compact and a little cheesy. And because of the gummy plastic that they've started using a lot lately, there is a lot of flex to this. Like, you can even see that the stock on mine is a little bent out of shape. The chamber does rotate, which I think is kind of cool, but to what end? Because it doesn't really pop out. It's not like you can pop the chamber out and make it look like he's slapping a new one in there. But that is what it is. It's very blunt-nosed, but it does fit onto the backpack. You can see that the scope, this cutout right here in the pack, and then the scope, there's only one way that it fits in there. If you try and turn it around, it's not sized correctly. It doesn't really fit. So you slide that in, and then you just pop this on his back. And then this hose will go into the back of his helmet, but we're not going to put that on yet. As a matter of fact, we're not even going to put the backpack on yet, and you'll see why in a moment. And that is because we have this bandolier of bullets, because the other weapon that he comes with is kind of like a saw or a heavy machine gun, and he comes with this bandolier just like rock and roll does. Now, this one isn't designed nearly as well as nice as rock and rolls are, but we do get it. You can see it's shaped a little, that I think there is a specific way that you're supposed to put it on him, that you can kind of see how it's wider at one end than the other, and then that will just go over his shoulder, and then the narrow part will come down around the waist. Oh, we're hooking the handle of his dagger. So now that is on, now we can put the backpack on. You can see it doesn't seat nearly as tight as the standard Vipers do. That's another little bit of a bummer, and that's mainly because like the pack is just so flat that it doesn't conform around the back like the Viper's pack does. And then this hose fits into the back of his head, into the back of his helmet, so then he has that rebreather option, that oxygen supply option going on there. Something else that he has is this black scarf, this black bandana. Now this isn't the Viper bandana. This isn't a repaint of the Viper bandana. I think, whoops, stand up. The grenade launcher and the backpack do give him a little bit of weight that makes him tilt back. I think this is this a remake of Zartan's? No. So maybe this is a new mold. This, who knows, this might be something that, maybe this will go on Xandar. Who knows? I think this is a new bandana. I'm not entirely sure. But we can slap that around his neck, and that fits very well underneath the bandolier o' bullets. Next up, he has this tomahawk that I think is really cool. Now, the thing with the tomahawk, and even the thing with the dagger, is that the hands are molded to hold his weapons. That, like, the tomahawk and the dagger, he doesn't get a real solid grip on them. You can see that they kind of fall forward a little bit. I mean, he'll keep them, they won't fall out, but they don't get a true grip on them. I do like that tomahawk. I think that looks really cool. I like the blade, I like the spike. It also has this little bit down here, some sort of tooling, maybe like gate cutters or something like that. Wire cutters or something like that. And then you can use this for trenching. I do like this as like a utility tool. I think that is really cool. And then this, come on out. This fits on his backpack as well. You can see this little piece right here that pokes out, and you can see the hole in the head of the tomahawk, that it just pops right on there, and you can see how it conforms to the side of the pack. Once again, it would have been nice to see some color on this. It would have been nice to see some color on the grenade launcher too, instead of all this just being molded in black plastic. Because like everything gets lost back here now because it's all the same color. It would just be cool to like have some color in here to make the different components, the different weapons stand out. And then finally, we have his saw, or his heavy machine gun, whatever you want to call it. And this is nicely done. I do like this. I like this much better than the grenade launcher. Once again, though, it's a very rubbery plastic. I get they're maybe doing this so that the weapons don't snap, so they're not stiff and snap, but this is very, very bendy, very weak. And then we have the ammo box down here. And once again, the one that came with Rock and Roll, heck, even the one that came with Stalker, as a matter of fact, I have that one right here, was done much better. You can see there's more uniformity to the rounds that are going into the chamber. There's more detail to the rounds that are going into the chamber. I think this is just a better piece than what we got with the Range Viper here. And then you can just put it in like that, and then the bottom clips, whoops, and then the bottom clips on, and then he has his ammo box. He has his ammo box right there, and he's ready to go. Now that doesn't fit onto his backpack. This one he holds. That one he holds, and he gets a good grip on that. He can also get some decent two-handed grips on it as well. With that front handle. Another problem with it being real gummy is that, like, the handle wants to bend sometimes when I try and push it into his hand. But there we go. So, all in all, I dig, once again, I really dig that he can have all of his gear kitted out on him, but that just seems like a lot of gear to be hauling around. Like this thing, an ammo belt, a grenade launcher hanging off of his backpack. I don't think my Range Vipers I'm going to be fitting out with all of their gear. Instead, I think I'll have them just set up with different weapons, different loadouts. They'll all have their backpack because that's like part of their gear. Their armor like hooks up to their helmet and their walkie-talkie is on it and everything. But I don't think all of them are going to be like kitted out the same. As a matter of fact, I may even take some of the weapons from the Viper, from one of the Viper 3-packs that I have, and just like load them out special. But I do like how he can still carry everything with him. I like the gear that he came with. I would prefer it if it wasn't quite so gummy as it is now. And I would have liked to have seen some paint apps on all of this gear. Just something to give it some color, maybe some gunmetal, maybe a little silver here and there, something for the blade, something for the axe. This is just all very boring right now, to be completely honest. This isn't the best loadout that they've done for a Viper. And now for size comparison, here he is beside the Hasbro G.I.Joe Classified Series Cobra Viper from the Viper 3-pack and the Cobra Trooper. I've always liked these guys better than the Vipers. Here he is beside McFarlane Toys DC Multiverse Gotham Knights Red Hood and McFarlane Toys The Witcher 3 The Wild Hunt Eridan Brioc Glass. Here he is beside Jada Toys Universal Monsters Frankenstein's Monster and Count Dracula. Here he is beside Jazzware's Spartan Collection Spartan Emil and Noble 6. And finally, here he is beside NECA Toys, Dungeons & Dragons, Warduke, and Grim Sword. So I like the figure. I really do. I really like the figure. I like the sculpt of the helmet. I like the sculpt of, like, the brains on the helmet. I like the look of him. I like the color palette of him. It's the accessories that leave a lot to be desired. I'm not entirely sure when Classified Series went to this really rubbery type weapon gear for their figures. I don't remember it being that way for Roadblock. For Rock and Roll, but I may be remembering that through like rose-colored glasses. But this gumminess to the weapons, it's very much like the gumminess that there was to Vipra's legs when we were looking at her. And also, it's just so bland now, the gear that this figure has, the gear that the Range Viper comes with. And I don't know if it's because of the gummy plastic that they're using, but the detail work isn't there either. And the Classified weapons used to have some really decent detail to them. For as much as I didn't like the sort of like quasi-sci-fi, quasi-nerf weapons that came with the first wave of classified figures, at least they were solid weapons. They didn't bend, they were solid plastic, they had some real good detail to them, and they were painted, they had color to them. Now, and I understand that they're giving us more, and I appreciate that, but it it seems like it's coming at a cost, and it seems that they're valuing quantity over quality. And I would have gladly given up like the grenade launcher with this guy if it meant the rest of his gear could have been a little bit more solid, a little bit more detailed, just a little bit more. I like the idea of the backpack with like the oxygen tank built onto it. I like the idea of the backpack with like his walkie-talkie wedged back there. It is rather disappointing also the backpack is just very flat and doesn't conform to his back like the standard Viper backpacks do. I think it would stay on a lot better. I think it would look a lot better. I'm definitely not going to be kitting out my range Vipers with everything. As a matter of fact, I think I will be like diving into the Viper 3-pack gear and like giving some of them like some specialized gear, specialized weapons. Just because one, with range Vipers, I don't want them all to look the same. I don't want them all to look uniform. Like they're supposed to be out ahead of the army, ahead of the troops, like long range recon patrol, rangers, force recon, things like that. And I don't think they would all be carrying the same gear. And if they are all carrying the same gear, like a belt fed, a saw, and a grenade launcher, like that doesn't seem like a combination that that a trooper like this would be carrying. So I think I will be like customizing them as far as like their gear loadouts go. I love the knife and the tomahawk though. Like my only issues with the knife and the tomahawk is that I wish there was just a little bit more paint to it, and I may even do that myself because I do like the tomahawk and how it has that back spike that you could use it as like a trenching tool. It looks very utility. Even the dagger I kind of like being like a signature dagger for the range Vipers. Yeah, it looks like a sai, but I think that just like adds something to it, and I really like that. So I like the figure. The gear leaves a little something to be desired. And yes, once again, I stretched the rules of what counts as a Halloween figure, but I mean, come on, brains and skull. So on that note, happy Halloween, everyone. Stay safe, stay healthy, and as always, thank you for watching.